Welcome everybody, and welcome to the Maestro 365 Development Bi-Weekly Call of November 11, 2021. I'm Paolo Pialorsi, and today I'm your host in this call. And let's have a look at the agenda of today and what we will talk about. So, like always, we will have a look at the latest news in the PnP community about the libraries, tools, and stuff that we provide to help developers build great solutions on top of Maestro 365. And then we will have the well-known Together mode picture with the whole community, and 3 great demos, one from Chris Kent about list formatting magic, one by Luis and Carmen about ProvisionGenie, and one by Natalie and Thomas about the publisher connector demo. So just to remind you, you have plenty of options to contribute to the community life. You can create demos or solutions that you can submit to the community just to share your knowledge and to share your experience with the whole community. You can, of course, contribute on GitHub, either creating new examples or just submitting fixes or issues or contributions to help improving the quality of all of the samples that we have on the PnP GitHub repositories. And of course, you can always provide your feedback still through the GitHub repositories mainly, and providing issues and items that we can use to, again, improve the quality of what we do. So that said, you can be on track on what we do almost on a daily basis, watching videos on the Maestro 365 Developer Videos channel or in the Maestro 365 community videos. You can have a look to the huge list of open source repositories that we have on GitHub, and especially you can give an eye to the galleries like the sample gallery, the SharePoint Framework web part gallery, the extensions and list formatting repositories that we have on GitHub, as well as if you just want to have a unique URL rather than plenty of different URLs, you can just go to aka.ms/m365pnp. And from there, you can go wherever you need, and you can find plenty of content and options to create great Maestro 365 solutions. And talking about how to create solutions, I think Paul can share with us some information about the script samples gallery. Right, Paul?
Yep, indeed, thank you. So PnP Script Samples is a site for sharing your PowerShell scripts or Bash scripts that would be used for automating tasks in 365. So we cover tools like the Microsoft Graph, CLI for 365, PnP PowerShell, SPA Management Shell, and more. Thankfully we've been added. We've had 8 new scenarios been added to the repository and 6 sample updates from the various tooling, which is super awesome. So thank you very much for the contributions to you. So thank you to Adam, Velaras, Rodrigo, Shuvinovas, Jim, and Reshmi as well for your contributions in this space. Super appreciate all the effort that you've been doing to add to this repository. So if you want to gain access to this, there's aka.ms.script samples, so you can find out more and start using these in your own environments, which would be cool. So back over to you, Paolo.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. And what if you are new to the contribution to PnP and you want to start contributing and you want to learn how to do that? David, can you help us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Paolo. Well, as Paolo mentioned, if you would like to begin contributing, or even if you want to start using any of the resources, we understand that there may be some hurdles involved in getting you to use those and contribute back. Sharing is Caring is a program that provides hands-on, safe space guidance on how you can take advantage of all these resources and contribute back to them. First-time contributor session will walk you through how to make your first pull request if you've never done that. Perhaps you want to submit a Power Platform sample, or perhaps you want to speak at one of the presentation and the demos. We're here to provide you that assistance. They're all free, safe space, not recorded, so you can collaborate with others in the community, and we will walk you through hands-on together on how to take advantage of these opportunities. We also have the ever-popular AMAs, and you can register for any of those. Again, they're all free. Get involved. We'd love to see you collaborate and collaborate with you. aka.ms/sharing is caring.
Yeah, and David, contributing to the community is a great activity, not only for the sake of giving back to the community, but also because you can get a recognition about what you do, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Paolo. In fact, the PnP Recognition program is a formal and official way that we are going to recognize all that you do in the community through badges that are powered by Credly. Now, this is the same Credly that issues the badges for Microsoft certification. So you can connect them to your LinkedIn profile. You can share them on your website. You can share them on the social platform, and you are going to be recognized for all the amazing contributions you make. We've been getting involved with all the other programs in PnP, so SPFX samples, blog authors with Louisa, independent publisher connectors are coming out soon. We're starting to send out the Hacktoberfest for October contributions. It is absolutely free. We cover the cost, no charge to you, but we do need you to opt in. So aka.ms/M365PnP-recognition. Go provide us your information. Let us celebrate you. Thank you, everybody. Paolo, back to you.
Thank you, David. And still talking about recognition, we are really happy to welcome new friends joining the Microsoft 365 Partner and Practices team members. So recently we announced that Gita, Joao, Stefan, Natalie, Joel, Tetsuya, Derek, Rick, and Thomas joined the PnP team. Thanks for your contribution. Thanks for your efforts. And again, the more you will contribute, the more you will be able to do in the interest of the whole community. So thank you so much, and welcome again to these new friends. That said, I just want to remind you that on the 16th of November, there will be the next Microsoft 365 platform call. So save it on your agenda. You will find interesting demos there. For example, one from Loki about getting started on building Microsoft Teams tab with adaptive cards, and one from Valdek and Beza about extending Microsoft Viva connections with web parts. So mark it on your agenda and be there, because it's a meeting that you can't miss. That said, we can start talking about the latest news about the community projects that we manage. And we will start talking about the PnP.NET libraries. In that area, in the PnP framework area, we are really proud of the numbers we're making. We are already at 235,000 downloads for the PnP framework library, and we are working on prepping version 1.8 of the library. In that one, we included fixes and improvements. So we need to thank Christian Zueling, Cohen Sommers, Patrick Helgren, Michael, Jim Love, and Bert Janssen for what they did. And we are still working on supporting the PnP provisioning engine schema version 2021-03. But we also plan to start supporting .NET 6 with PnP framework, and as you can see, with PnP Core SDK as well. So be prepared, start installing the .NET 6 runtime on your machine, and eventually Visual Studio 2022 to be ready to contribute to the PnP framework and PnP Core SDK. Thinking about the PnP Core SDK, huge numbers there as well, 364,000 downloads. That's a huge number. We have now the PnP page transformation framework in public preview, and we are preparing the 1.5 version of PnP Core SDK, which will include the ALM support, thanks to Sergey to provide it. And we also have support for other clouds like the US or China or Germany and so on and so forth, as well as I already said, the support for the transformation library with the contribution of Paul, Sergey again, Bert, and me as well. So again, be prepared for .NET 6 and be ready with Visual Studio 2022 to start contributing and playing with the latest releases of the PnP.NET libraries. Thinking about PnP PowerShell, which is somehow built on top of these libraries, because some of the functionalities provided by PnP PowerShell are internally based on the PnP Core SDK and PnP framework. There we have, again, really huge numbers, like 1 million downloads and 75 million command legs executed every single day, which is an amazing number. Kind of an incredible number, I would say, but unbelievable, great. And we want to remind you that you can get the PnP PowerShell from PnP GitHub.io/PowerShell. and you will get a version targeting PowerShell 5 and 7, as well as Azure Cloud Shell or Azure Functions. But we are also working internally on a V2 proof of concept, which will be based on .NET 6 and PowerShell 7.2. So stay tuned. And again, if you want to contribute to PnP PowerShell, as like to any other library or project that we have in PnP, just let us know, because we are always looking for new people joining and helping building and shaping the future of these libraries. That said, I think we have Stefan, who will share with us the latest news about your teams.
Thanks, Paolo. Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, roughly, we released a new release 3.4.0, where we mainly had some bug fixes fixed. We migrated to a newer version of the bot framework SDK and had some linting issues fixed. And as of today, we released a new preview version 3.5.0, where we kind of revamped the whole bot template to make it fit more the official samples provided by the Microsoft Bot Framework team. And we also plan to support the team's JavaScript SDK version 2.0, which will be released anytime soon, and might be releasing a new major version here and there to make that support, also adding support for meeting extensions and HTTPS support for local server, Paolo. And yeah, so we're kind of working on bringing new features in there and also fixing bugs which occur. Thanks. Back to you.
Great. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you. So still talking about toolkits, libraries, and tools for helping developers creating great Microsoft 365 solution. For sure, the Microsoft Graph Toolkit is yet another toolkit that we really need whenever we want to create great solutions. I think that today we have Sebastian with us, right? So
yes.
Okay, so congrats for your new role and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. So hi, everybody. I'm Seb. I'm the Microsoft Graph Toolkit PM. And we're currently working right now on a ton of different capabilities with the toolkit. One being able to leverage the new FAST foundation. So the FAST is the web components version of the Fluent UI. So we're working really, really deeply on making that happen. We are about to release our 2.3.1 version that's going to include a bunch of improvements on our people picker, the person component, file list, team channel picker, and our get component. MGT is a community-first initiative, so feel free, aka.ms/MGT, if you want to help us fix bug, you have any requirements, you want to hear from us, you want to suggest new components, feel free to go on our GitHub and add them all of there. We're looking for feedback. We're currently working on an MGT search component to enable you to search for content in Microsoft Search. So have a look at this. We're also building right now a MGT picker, a generic picker for any type of entities within Microsoft Graph. So we'd love to hear from you. You can already try what's coming. So if you want to try the @next package, that's going to lead you to the 2.3.1 release, which is the newest one. And if you want to see how great the Fluent UI will be with the new revamped UI based on FAST, you can do the @next.fluent UI. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you, Seb. Thank you. So talking now about Microsoft Teams. In Microsoft Teams, we have plenty of samples available. Again, on the network, you can go to aka.ms/teams-samples, and there you will find all of them. But we are also, like always, open to contributions from the community. So if you have an idea of something that you want to develop and make available, please share it with us. You can also have a look to the AKMS Teams sample wish list if you are looking for something to do in order to contribute to the community. So give an eye to those links, use the samples and contribute back if you like. And then we have April with us to talk with us about the Power Platform samples, right, April?
Yes, yeah, so we have 2 new samples for Power Platform repos. We have a great template help desk sample from NiDairy. Great sample. It shows a Canvas application for help desk, lots of great UI concepts to take from this sample, and some cool PowerFX functions going on behind the scene. And speaking of PowerFX, we have a new PowerFX date function submitted by Luc Simon. So shows how we can get the date and format the dates in some components for that. So 2 new great samples. Again, we always welcome new samples to the repos for Power Platform. So go to aka.ms/Power Platform-samples and give us your Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agent samples. We take it all. Thank you. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you, April. And so it is now time for the well-known together mode picture. So I'll ask Vesa to be my lovely assistant and to start recording and taking the picture. Thank you, Vesa.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me move everybody in here. We have 50 seats. I'm not going to change the scene because the quality is now okay. Let me actually enable the camera as well. We do have a bit lower attendance of today, and that's because there's holiday season in here and there across the world as well. So that's as expected. But I guess we'll hit the 50 pretty soon. Well, that's already a good enough of people. So let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thanks everybody for joining. Really awesome to see you in here. We're still expanding the room. Excellent. Thanks everybody. And we're going to create GIF animation out of this one as well. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Awesome. And by the way, Collab Summit coming later this month and early next month for Las Vegas, if you can join us in person. So I will be in Germany, and Jeff Deeper and many other cool people will be in Las Vegas. Oh, now I stopped already sharing. Now, there we go. Cool.
Okay. So it is now time to move to the demos. So the very first one, let's start with Louise and Carmen to talk about the ProvisionGenie.
Yes, we are ready. Let me start sharing my screen. So this is a demo done by myself, Carmen, and Louise Freza. Louise is a Microsoft MVP. She's also a princess, so you should address her as Your Royal Highness. And she's a local developer, slowly moving into a really real developer. You can find her on Twitter at Louise Freza. I think her daily tweet rate is something like 50 tweets a day. So she's on there a lot. She lives on Twitter. And I'm Carmen. I'm a serial learner, which came in very helpful while we were building ProvisionGenie. I'm a Power Platform consultant at Cubics in Belgium. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm not as active, but I do occasionally share pictures of my, if I do say so myself, cute little dog. What we will be talking about today is ProvisionGenie. So ProvisionGenie is a provisioning solution that Louisa and I built. And we built this because we feel that a lot of provisioning solutions that are out there already don't really suit the needs of what users actually need. They either create empty teams or templates, and both don't really do the whole job because people don't know what Teams is, or the typical user doesn't know what Teams is and what Teams can do. And that is why we wanted to blend learning with actually the process of requesting and building a team. And that is what ProvisionGenie is all about. Let me go very quickly over the core concepts. We have a Power Apps Canvas app for the UI. We are using Azure Logic Apps in the background to do the actions for creating the team. We are using managed identities for authentication. We're using Dataverse for data storage. And we built this as a deployable solution, so you can deploy it on your own tenant. If you want to, you can play with it. And we have documentation about all of these choices, why we chose these things for our solution, and also a roadmap on what is still to come. Now let me jump straight into a demo. And I think we agreed that Louisa will do the talking. Yep. If you can see my screen already.
I can see your screen. I can see your screen. Yep. Okay, so we're talking about ProvisionGenie. So what you see right now is ProvisionGenie already added as a personal app right here in Teams. And as we said, we wanted to blend learning about Teams with the provisioning process. And we thought we have just like 4 major challenges in mastering collaboration, which would be task management and meetings and conversations and organizing all your content. So we educate users first so that they are then able to articulate their needs in our provisioning process, which will be started very soon by Carmen.
Yes.
Here we go. Thank you so much. So we already pre-filled this for your convenience so that it will be a little bit faster. So we ask for the team name and of course for a team description, because that is what needed. That is what is needed to provision the team. And we also ask if users want to have a welcome package or if they want to have a SharePoint list for their tasks. And you might wonder why we do that, because so there is already a dedicated tool in M365 for group tasks, but for several reasons we did not want to provision a planner board because it does not come with the right API. So we chose to go for a SharePoint list to be provisioned instead, which mimics the behavior of a planner board. So after our user made this choice, they can fill in the members that they want to be added. And this is a new feature. So we worked on this right on this morning. So we keep the fingers crossed that this already works. And after adding the members, we can add additional owners, because that is a very good practice to just like have more than one owner in the team. And once we have that, we move on and we will add some channels, because channels, this is what is really at the heart of teams. So we add channels for whatever we need, and you can see that they nicely add up, and we can also remove them again. So if we made a typo or something like that, we can surely do that as well and try again to re-add this. And after that, we select this next button. And once we did that, we get the option to create an additional document library, just in case the one that is already there in SharePoint is not sufficient for us. And we will add some more columns to that. And we can add all kinds of columns, and all of these will be provisioned for us. And we can also set the values in this option set. Once we did that, we save our library. We always get just like a nice success screen so that we know, hey, this already worked. And now we get the option to create a list, because we love Microsoft lists, and therefore we do this here as well. And you can see Carmen now looking for a person column, which will be added to this nice stack of columns that we have here. We get a little success pop up, and now it's time to already check out. And whatever we did, it's just like it's already here, so our user can review what they just asked for about the members and the owners and the channels, of course, and of course the library and the columns and the list as well. And if everything looks correct, they need to check this check mark to really confirm, yes, this is what I want to have. This is the point of no return, and submit their requests. Now that we have that, so that is our UI. And now all data gets patched into Dataverse. And from there on, our flows will kick off. And this is what Carmen will cover now.
Yes. So as mentioned, we are using logic apps to take care of the actions to actually create the team. And we have a couple of different logic apps because we wanted to split the actual actions from the logic of building it, so that we could potentially make those other components reusable. So we have one main flow that takes care of all the logic, and then we have specific flows to do specific actions. Let's first take a look at the main flow. So you can see that it kicks off when something is created in Dataverse. In the background, this is now running. And then we have several scopes or just actions to do certain things. So for example, in the create team scope, we will make sure that we get the channels that need to be created, and we provide that in a specific format. And then we will provide that to the create team child logic app, which will then give us back information about the team that is created, like the ID, and then we can use that for the other actions. If we deep dive, we don't have time to go over everything in detail, but we are going to deep dive into the create team logic app and highlight 3 things that we believe is important. The first one is that in the create a team app, we are of course going to, we are creating a team by first creating a group. And then we are going to teamify that group. And in order to create a group, we first want to know that that group doesn't exist yet, because if you try to create a Microsoft 365 group with the same name as one that is already existing, that will cause some errors. So we are making sure that the group we want to create doesn't exist yet. If it doesn't exist, then we will create it, and then we get back the created group ID, and then from that group we will teamify that. So we're doing the same thing. We're checking that the team doesn't exist yet, and then we will try to create a team from the existing group. This action can fail occasionally, so that's why we are checking that the action was actually accepted. And then after the action is accepted, because this is not a synchronous action, it takes some time to do, and you don't get the result back immediately. We need to check when that team upgrade has succeeded. So we are going to keep looping. We are going to get a link from the response of our first action, and we're going to check that link to see whether the team creation has succeeded, whether that upgrade has succeeded. And then after that upgrade has succeeded, then we are going to configure our channels. And in the configuration of channels, we do two things. First of all, we are going to hit the files folder endpoint to make sure that users don't get this annoying things aren't ready yet when they first enter the files tab in Teams. You might have noticed this already. If you create a team and you go to the files tab in the general channel, for example, the first time it will always say things aren't ready yet, or we can't find that yet, or whatever, because that's the moment that that file gets, that folder gets created. So by hitting that endpoint inside that channel, we are preventing that error from occurring for the users, because we are triggering the creation of that folder right now. And then secondly is we are going to delete the Wiki tab, because we don't like the wiki. We don't think it's a good way for people to store their notes. And as we mentioned before, a lot of users don't know these things. That most users don't know that a Wiki tab, when you delete it, it's gone for good. So we want to prevent that from happening for them, which is why we take care of deleting the Wiki tab in the first place. And now in the meantime, our team will have been created, and you can see that we did this before, just to make sure that it was there already. But team has been created. Let me go through it. We have channels, the channels that we wanted to, and if we go to the Files tab, we will see that it is immediately, or it should immediately be visible without that first thing. There we go. And if we then open in SharePoint, we will see that the list and library will have been created. The roadmap list has been created, and the image library has been created, and the columns will be in there as well. Let's take a quick look. So we have description and status. These were the columns that we created. And if we go back to the team, normally our members should be there already as well. Let's see, no. So that didn't work. It's like we said, we're still working on it, but in the other one, they are there. So we need to figure out why that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. That's why it's still in development, of course. If you want to learn more, you can go to our website, ProvisionGenie.com, which is based on our GitHub documentation. You can also find the link there to GitHub. So if you want to contribute, we are very much open to contributions. People are helping us already with, for example, improving the deployment script for this. So you are welcome to help as well. And you can find all information about our architecture decisions, about everything that we have done and that we are wanting to do on here and on GitHub. So thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share, Louisa?
I think you covered it quite well, and I see lots of hearts and clapping hands. So I think we did well on that. So what we basically did is we wanted to do the right things, which means we chose a good set of tools and a good set of approaches, and decided to come up with just like minor set of features, which will then be extensible over time instead of having a rich feature set, just like straight from the beginning, but have poor architecture decisions. And you can read all of that, as we said, on ProvisionGenie.com, and your contributions are more than welcome. So if anyone has a good idea or sees a bug or knows something, please reach out to us and let us know and get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Luis. You did really well. Now it's time for Chris Kent, who is now a presenter, so he can share with us his screen. So, Chris, feel free to steal the presentation.
All right. Woo! All right. Hey, everybody, I'm Chris. Let's talk about some list formatting stuff. That'll be fun. All right. So we head on over to our Warrior Horses site. Get rid of all you guys. All right. Now the horses, they've got all sorts of things they use in battle, right? They've got weapons and all sorts of things we've gone through before. They got battle plans, they got agents, they got everything else, but they also have tools, right? So tools can cover a variety of things. So of course they decided to put those in a SharePoint list, and that's great. So they've got this tools list, and that's okay, right? Now some of these are kind of long, so in order to read them, you got to click this guy, right? This is not great, right? But I mean, this is a list formatting demo, so we're going to make it better. So what are we going to do? Well, we want to make this a little more readable, right? And a little more usable, maybe a little more type interactive-ish, right? Now, we kind of want to create something on a page, but we don't want to pay a developer. That costs money. So luckily, we've got some skills here with the list formatting. So let's take a look. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new view. And the reason we're going to do that is so we just have this list kind of for editing. And we're just going to call this content. And we'll just create that. And it looks exactly the same. Woo! Now, I have found that for whatever reason, if you choose to format things right now, it'll apply it to the original view. So I'm just going to go directly to that view that we just created, just to make sure. All right, so now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to format this current view, and I'm going to paste something in just so we have something to start with, so you don't have to watch me type it all, and then we'll start working from there. And so if we take, well, I've got it on the other screen, I'm going to paste this in our lovely advanced formatting box, and we'll go through it very quickly what we did. We didn't do anything apparently, so I'll just refresh the page here. There we go. Okay, so here's what that format is doing. So all this format does so far is it places the title up here, makes it a little bigger, makes the text a little higher, and then we're setting the height to 240 pixels. I'll come back to why that number is important in just a little bit here. But we just got it. It looks a little better, a little easier to read. Right, but what could we do with that to make it a little more interactive type stuff with a page? Well, that's where we can start to use an attribute we haven't really covered before. So there's an attribute that you're probably familiar with called ID. So all we're going to do is we're going to add that in here right now. Let's put it right here on the main guy. Right, so we're just going to put attributes and that, and then we'll type in ID. And for this, we're just going to build one. So we're going to kind of make a dynamic one. We're going to say, so in order to do that, we're going to say equals. We'll just say tools, or this is a tool, and we're going to say, and on top of that, add to the end of that at row index, right? So we're just saying the row index tells us the order in which the item was rendered. So exploding hook is 0, decoy is 1, stabbing knife is 2, and we're doing that because we know it'll be unique for our particular list. So there we go. We've got that, and if we preview it, nothing happens, and that's cool because we haven't done anything with it. So what can we do with that? Well, let's take a look. One of the things we could do is we can add a button down here, and in this case, I say button, it's just going to be a link. We'll add it here right next to our title, and we'll say Elm type of A because it's a link. We're going to make an anchor here, and we're going to say, our attributes for it. We're going to make this an icon. All right, so. All right, you get help with the IntelliSense here. So I'm just going to paste the attributes here so we don't have to type that. And I'll tell you what I did. I want to make sure I get to the other part. Okay, so if we take a look here, let's preview that. We've got this lovely button, right? So what we're doing here is we've just set an icon. We're calling this one, it's Chrome back, which just really means a left arrow. All right, we've got some stuff that controls how it looks here with some classes. So we get a nice hover, ooh, fancy. And we put a title, which just tells us we're going to go to the previous item. All right, and then you'll notice our href here. So that's where we want this link to go. We've started it off, we're building it again, and we're using almost the exact same thing we did from the anchor up above, right? And we're from that ID, and we're saying a hashtag, right? Or an Oglethorpe, or whatever you want to call that guy. Tool underscore, and then we're going to add the row index, but instead this time, because we want to go to the one before, we're going to -1 on that. We're going to put that in parentheses because row index is a number. If I put it in parentheses, we'll get it to auto convert to a string, which is exciting. And then the other thing we're doing here is some style stuff, including one, because we happen to know we don't want to show a previous on the very first one. we're saying, hey, if you're the very first one, you're 0. Yeah, don't worry about it. Now we're going to add an almost identical button here for the next. And we'll just paste that right there. And we'll wonder what I did. Okay. Doesn't like something. Oh, because I pasted it in the wrong spot. Let's try it right there. We'll see if we can fix that. I think we got an extra one piece. All right, we'll format this document. There we go. Looks a little better. So now if we enter valid JSON, look at that, comma. Okay, so now we'll put a comma. Now we'll format that document. Oh, so much prettier. Preview that. Now we got 2 little buttons, right? So let's save that. And what does that do for us? All right, so if I click on one of those, it kind of scrolls. It's a little weird here. So just trust me on this one. We're going to go take a look at a page and see how we can use that. So if we head back here, we're going to create a page. Go new. I'm going to go new page. And we're just going to do a blank page here. And we're going to just make this simpler. All right, we'll call this some tools. It's a great name. And we're going to just remove this guy. We don't need that guy. So now let's add our list to the page. So we're going to use the list web part. Add the list. We're going to scroll down here till we find our tools list. And then here we're going to edit this so we see this. So we're going to pick our view that we just made, which is content. And we're going to turn off the command bar. Right? And we're going to turn off the see all button. And then we're actually going to set that size to small. And that's where that 240 pixels of height comes in. Right? So now if we publish this page, and we ignore all our first time publish fun stuff there, right? We get this little miniature navigation right here on the page, right? So now we're seeing, now technically you can scroll through all these, but we've got this kind of nice setup here, and we can go a little further with that, right? So if we go back to our tools list, which we'll just do that here up top, we'll just click that in a new window. So go back to our tools list, we're going to add another view. All right, so here we go. We're going to go create new view. And this time we're just going to call this links. Right? And we're going to call this a gallery view. And we're going to create that. And it's going to look very exciting with the kind of default established links. And we're going to edit that. So we're going to format the current view. And we've got a card designer, which is great to start with. We're going to hit edit card. And all we're going to do is we're going to take out that content. And we're going to stop showing the column name. So we just have the title sitting there in our little rectangles. All right, we're going to save. And then we're going to hit advanced mode. Because by editing it and then going to advanced mode, we got Microsoft to do the hard part of generating most of this for us, right? And then we can just edit it. So by default, when you do that, one of the things it does is it adds kind of a floating button above the whole thing. So that anytime you click it, it's just going to open the list item. That's what's happening here with this default click. We don't want that behavior. So instead, we're going to say, get out of here, guy that's doing that. And we're going to make this a link, right? So we're going to make it an anchor. And in this case, we're going to make the href, right? Oh, let's put that in the attributes. We're going to make this guy href, and we're going to make this also very similar to what we saw before. So we're going to make it an expression so that equals, and we're going to say tool underscore, and we're going to say the exact same thing as before, at row index, right? Because we know the sort is the same as these. So now we've got this, we're going to put our comma up here, preview that. And just to make ourselves feel a little better, we're going to come all the way down to this paragraph that has the title in it. And we're just going to add a quick style. I put a text line, and we're going to just put center. So it looks just a little better, right? There we go. That's very exciting. So now we just have this beautiful thing here. It doesn't really do anything. Oh, I forgot one other part, which would be that I want to hide that selection. I don't want that happening. No, thank you. I don't need that extra selection stuff. So we're just going to true on that. And let's save that. So now we get rid of that. So now what the heck are we going to do with these, right? So we go back to our awesome tools. And we're going to edit this page again. And now we're going to edit the section. So we can add a column over here. And we'll make this a 1/3 left. And we'll just drag this guy, put him over on the big side. And let's add our list again. In this case, we're going to pick tools once more. And then we're going to say our view we want to use the links view we just created. And we're also going to hide the command bar. And we're going to hide the see all because, we don't need that. Apply. And then, we'll make this, tools. That sounds good. And we'll call this one instead of tools. We'll call this details. And let's republish that. And let's take a look at what did we just do? All right, so now we've got this beautiful page where we can actually have some navigation. Well, I don't know what I forgot the hashtag. So one moment. So let's go back in here. When we built this link here, notice I forgot to put the pound sign, right? So now we put that in front. That's what makes it an anchor link. All right, otherwise it's trying to go to a page is what we saw. So let's save that. And let's go back here and let's go back because that page doesn't exist. All right, and refresh here just to make sure we've got everything. And let's take a look. So now we can go cloaking stable and go boat, hammer, and so on, right? So pretty cool. You'll notice we didn't, I mean, we wrote code, but technically we didn't write any code. We didn't deploy anything. We did all of this in the browser using the out-of-the-box formatting to start with, right? And then we kind of just customized as we needed. You can go a lot crazier with this, right? So the idea is you could start to build an application with this or a nice little display piece, right? If you wanted to add some things here with like hover cards or, you know, additional details over here. You could even add an additional view with a list of like categories that filters both of these. And again, you're not really doing anything outside of creating those nice IDs that link everything together with anchors. So there are a couple of gotchas with this. Let's take a look at the PowerPoint to review and take a look at those gotchas. There we go. So when you're using that ID attribute, there will be times it gets flagged because it's not necessarily part of the schema just yet. Don't worry about it. It does work, as we saw, but it adds an ID to an element which can be used for a lot of different things. In this case, we're using it for anchor links. But note, because it happens client side, so when you format your list, whether that's in the web part or on the page, all of that format is applied client side. Linking outside of the page directly to these items does not currently work. But you can use that for those kind of internal links. So if you've got a long list and you want to hop between list items, you can certainly do that, right? Instead of the row index, you could use the title of the list item. You could use the list item ID, whatever you'd want there. And you can build those dynamically. To create these kind of really cool interactive pieces, you could use that with some of the other dynamic web parts that exist, whether that's your custom ones or using things like the embed or the list properties to show some additional details. And then navigate using these IDs can create a pretty cool application altogether without having to deploy any kind of SPFX or anything else. All right, so check that out. This sample is called the Content Browser and will be available hopefully by the end of this call. All right, and that's what I got for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Like always, great demo. Thank you so much. So it is now time for Natalie and Thomas to talk with us about the updates on the independent publisher connectors and the myStrom connector demo. So Natalie and Thomas, feel free to steal the presentation and start your demo.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here again. So just want to quickly go over where we are in terms of, you know, how many connectors we've produced and highlight a lot of the publishers that we have here. So again, independent publisher connectors are connectors developed by MVPs, students, and developers. Anyone can develop a connector. You don't have to own the API or backend service. And of course, they're available within Power Automate, Power Apps, and Azure Logic Apps. And they are certified by Microsoft, more specifically, a couple of team members that I work with closely day to day. So we have 38 connectors in production, up 8 in the last 2 weeks, which is pretty awesome. 3 of these connectors are co-authored. 3 of these connectors have been updated, and I know there is a lot more updates to come in the queue as well. And a total of 23 incredible independent publishers. So just want to highlight the 8 that came out. So you can see here that there is a new connector to a Microsoft service as well, which is really interesting. We also have a New York Times connector, the ORB intelligence connector to the Weather Channel, Clearbit, Federal Reserve Economic Data, Mailbox Validator, and Unix timestamp. So a lot of possibilities with these new connectors. And of course, we want to always highlight our outstanding publishers for publishing all their great connectors. And one of their independent publishers is here with us today, Tomasz Poszytek. So you definitely see him on the list here as well. And just want to go side by side on the total number of connectors in production on the left, and then the number of connectors in the certification pipeline as well. that are still making it through. So in production, you can see there's actually a couple of weather services, which is really interesting. We have AccuWeather now, we have Weather Forecast, we have the Weather Channel, so that's definitely been a pretty big theme. But we also have a lot of different kinds, especially with registries. So we have number 2 is the registries to Norway, but then also we have something called LibreBor, which allows you to go into the registries for Spain. So it's really interesting to start seeing like all the trends and the commonalities that we have, including, of course, a connector to NASA too. So it's pretty awesome to see the wide variety that we're getting. And yeah, so Tomasz Poszytek is here today. He's an MVP, and he's going to show us an awesome demo on the myStrom connector. And the cool thing is that the myStrom connector is definitely the first of its kind, at least in this group of independent publisher connectors. So Tomasz, over to you.
All right. As you mentioned, myStrom is the first of its kind. It's actually used to automate homes. The myStrom company is a Swiss company behind Wi-Fi bulbs and Wi-Fi switches and some other home automation small devices, so-called. I'm working with that devices for a couple of years already, because first I met them in 2018 when I was preparing for a session for an Oslo SPS Saturday. And then once I learned about the Independent Publisher Connectors program, I decided to switch my custom connector into that Independent Publisher Connector and share it with the whole world. So the connector itself, it actually allows to, well, first to authenticate, then it has a couple of actions around. There is a set of endpoints or the actions that we can use. So you can list all devices that you have in your home. You can toggle them, you can turn them off, you can turn them on, you can set their properties, you can create webhooks, so as well trigger some automations depending on actions in other systems. And there is as well a feature called a scene, like in Philips Hue, so you can connect some of the devices into a group and then just toggle the screen on or toggle the screen off. So for example, you are turning on the lights, you are turning on music, you are turning on your coffee machine all in the same time. Well, and that's it. So there are no more endpoints built by the provider. So let me just show you about the use case purpose. I actually created a custom connector in the first place. So my idea was to create a solution that every morning notifies me about the current weather and air conditions, because I'm usually using bike to go to work. So I just wanted to know if the air quality actually is good enough to just go outside and breathe normally, or maybe I should take a mask and so on. So I just built a solution I'm using for 3 years already, that every morning is asking Airly, it's a Polish air quality provider, for current situation, for current air quality in my neighborhood. And then, well, it's using SharePoint as a database. Don't blame me. It's quite an old solution. But in the end, it's storing all the information about the air quality and current weather in that SharePoint. Then it's refreshing the data set in Power BI, because the Power BI is actually being used as an interface that is displayed on a tablet that I have next to my doors. So once that Power BI dashboard is refreshed or is triggered to refresh, then I'm calling Azure function to pass hash color into HSV, because the myStrom accepts HSV as the definition of the color. And then it's actually turning on the bulb into the color that corresponds to current air quality. So then I just see what color is on the bulb when I'm leaving home. So it's green, all fine. And then the more it comes into the red, then the air is actually worse. So I'll just trigger it on. So you'll be able to see. I actually brought my light with me. So here is my light, my bulb, hidden. I mean, not hidden, in the whatever, in this thingy. Okay, it seems that. So just in a moment, the bulb should really turn on to the color that, well, actually corresponds to the current weather condition, I mean air quality. So it's a little bit yellowish. I don't know if you can see that. And then once I navigate to Power BI, it takes around a minute and a half to refresh the data set. So I won't see the results immediately. However, on the tablet, there is an application installed that turns the tablet into like a kiosk tablet. So it is refreshing it automatically in a schedule. So like after 5 minutes, it is being automatically refreshed, and then it downloads the latest data. However, this is information from yesterday. You can see that the latest update was on 10th. The air quality is not that much different. So here I have all this information about the current weather conditions and the air quality, like how many those particles are floating in the air, and if I can breathe normally, how much the norms are exceeded, and so on. So that's actually the whole solution and the whole demo, and as well the information behind the myStrom connector. So I hope you liked it.
Yes. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. Great demo as well. So great job. And now let me share back my screen. Just to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like always, the recording of this call will be available within 24 hours from now on the Maestro 365 Community YouTube channel. If you are not yet following us on Twitter, please do at Maestro365Dev and at M365PnP. And just want to remind you that the next Maestro365 General Dev call will be on November 25th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And the SharePoint Framework 1 or the client side 1 will be on November the 18th, still 7 a.m. Pacific time. If you want to keep an eye on all of the community calls that we have scheduled, just go to aka.ms/m365pnp. And again, there you will find all of the information about our activities and the calls and everything else. And generally speaking, and not only talking about Maestro 365 PnP calls, here is the list of all of the community calls that you can watch to take inspiration from for building Maestro 365 solution in your environment, in your tenant. That said, I think we are sharp on time, actually even 5 minutes earlier. So great. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks for providing great demos, and thanks for watching this video, and see you the next week. Thank you.